Hey, juniors. Wanted to take this opportunity to give you guys the answer key to Unit 10.1 and 10.2 chapter review questions, which are about the Second World War in Europe. So I'll make this short, sweet, and to the point. Number one, what was the new tactic? What new tactic did the Germans use to start at this? I'm going to start that over. What new tactic did the Germans use at the start of World War II? The correct answer is Blitzkrieg, also known as Lightning War. Almost everyone got this right. How did it work? Some mixed answers here. Hold on one second. All right, we're back. So how did it work? A couple of people had varying answers, but none of them were really wrong here. The short and sweet of it is very kind of quick attacks, right? The Germans don't want a war of attrition like World War One. They don't want trench warfare, so they wanted quick attacks. The kind of real answer is penetrating a small part of the enemy's front, first with air force, then with mechanized divisions, tanks, and then invade with your infantry. And then you can kind of encircle your opponents that way. That's the more technical answer. If you're kind of a practices person, kind of get that vernacular, that vocabulary down pat. And I'll be right back. One more second. All right, last try at this. Number three, what was the ultimatum given to Germany and what did it result in? So again, Germany invades Poland on September 1, 1939. The British government gives Germany 48 hours to withdraw out of Poland, or else war would be declared. 48 hours later, Hitler does not retreat out of Poland. So on September 3, 1949, Britain declares war on Germany. Hitler did not think that the British would do it because of the policy of appeasement, and they did it. They called his bluff. What is the period of 1939 to April of 1940 known as the Phony War? No fighting happened. All right. The only fighting that was going on was in Eastern Europe. All right. We've got the Winter War between the Soviets and Finland. We've got some fighting going on in Poland, but there is nothing happening to the west of Germany, which again made people kind of believe that Hitler was not going to move in that direction, that he always talked about Lebensraum in the east, and then he wouldn't move in the western direction. Who was the Winter War fought between? What did we learn from it? Again, kind of varied answers here. The Winter War was fought between the Soviet Union and Finland. Everyone got that part. What did we learn from it? That the Soviet military was very weak. It was outclassed in terms of leadership, all right, because of the purge that Stalin had done a couple years prior. It was outclassed in terms of supplies, all right. That story about the battle for sausage should be able to kind of rekindle that idea for you guys. And it was outclassed in terms of tactics, all right. That is kind of part A of leadership. All right. The tactics of Finland was far better. And it was outclassed in terms of just overall military proficiency, right? The Finnish military, not that much manpower, was able to defeat the superior manpower of Russia because of all of the reasons above. So we learned that Russia really wasn't that strong at this point in time. Why does Winston Churchill state Norway is the most important land on Earth right now? Everyone got this question right. I'm super happy about that because of the iron ore that the Germans were sending from Sweden to the Norwegian ports that are warmer in the winter time. So Churchill knew that that's going to be the first clash in Western Europe, right? I know that Norway's not really Western Europe, but you get the point. In the western part of Europe, because if we could shut down Hitler's iron supply, then we can maybe end this war pretty quickly. The British weren't able to. They reacted too quickly to the German attacks, and Norway falls to Germany. What was the Maginot Line and why does it fail? The Maginot Line is that very, very, very entrenched strip of French defense. All right. It was built up in the interwar period. A lot of money went into it. And it fails because the Germans go right around it. They go through the Ardennes Forest, which the French did not extend the Maginot Line past because they didn't think that the German army could fit through it. And it does. What is the significance of Dunkirk? So at the battle for Dunkirk, you've got the British and the French troops that are remaining in Europe evacuating. All right. The significance of that is a couplefold. A, the Germans take control of continental Europe for the next 3.5 years, which is huge. Millions worth of supplies are lost from the Allied forces. They're left on those beaches, and the Germans are going to take advantage of that. And then, lastly, a lot of lives are lost as well. A lot of lives are saved in the long run, but in the invasion of France, a lot of French lives are indeed lost. So Vichy France is going to be the kind of non-Nazi occupied France. It's kind of a puppet government that's set up there, but it's not the occupied portion of France. Pétain is going to be the leader of it, but Charles de Gaulle is going to be the head of the Free French forces in that region. Operation Sea Lion, overwhelming right here. It is the amphibious invasion of Britain. All right. Amphibious meaning by sea onto land. Obviously, you need to invade Britain by sea. So this is Hitler's kind of plan to take out Britain. And he knew that you can't just sail your boats across the English Channel because of the naval and air superiority of the British. So they had to kind of wear down those two fronts before they can invade, which is number 11, describe phase 1 and 2 of the battle for Britain. All right, so in phase 1 and 2, if you don't know which one's which, it's okay. Just kind of know the general phase. They go for taking out port cities and taking out airstrips, airfields of the Royal Air Force. All right, that's phase 1 and 2. It's met with overwhelming success. All right, the German bombers and the fighter planes are doing very, very, very good, especially in those port cities, because the fighter planes had the fuel capacity to escort the bombers and then fly back home. Hitler changed his plan because on accident, the British bombed a civilian center, a city, instead of a military target on a night bombing raid. Hitler kind of says, all right, fine, you want to bomb civilians? I'll bomb civilians. And then switches up his tactics to the terror bombing, also known as the Blitz. A lot of you guys wrote that down in your answer, which I'm super happy about. So he's changed us to phase 3 and 4, which is going to be terror bombing British cities during the day, and then phase 4 is finally bombing those British cities at night. This was a mistake because we learned later on that the Royal Air Force was in such dire moment because of how well phase 1 and 2 is going that historians estimate between 2 and 3 weeks, and the British would have had to surrender the battle for Britain. Their air forces wouldn't have been able to recuperate in time. So big mistake. What is meant to keep calm and carry on? So this is going to be the big propaganda slogan that kind of signifies the total war of Britain, which I'm going to get into question 15 here as well. Britain was a total war. Every aspect of society contributed to the war effort. You've got women working in factories, working in military capabilities, not just being secretaries anymore. They're going out into society in new waves to help the war effort, while the men are all kind of in the Royal Air Force at the time. If you're an able-bodied man, you're in the military, right? So women get into the workforce, children, and some of you did an amazing job in that little assignment that I gave you. Children are going to continue to go to school, right? They are going to move to the countryside. So the British knew that the only thing that would break the British will was burying their children. So they moved their children to the countryside, all right? And even in the countryside, after school, children would get jobs in little kind of munitions factories and stuff like that. So they would kind of continue that war effort as well. And if you're older or disabled, you would join the Home Guard, which was keeping control, kind of keeping lookout for the bombing raids and sounding sirens and all those little things. So every aspect of society was impacted. And another thing is sleeping in the tunnels at night, right? If you're in the city, food rationing, that's another thing. Planting gardens at home so you can eat your own food and save food for the soldiers. All of these different things are nice little examples about the total war in Britain. And keep calm and carry on was the kind of propaganda to signify the total war in the battle for Britain. Overall, you guys did great on this. Hopefully this answer key helps. I'm going to do these for the 10.3 and the 10.4 chapter review questions as well. Let me know if you have any questions, and as always,